Hi everyone, my name is Aner and I'm going to try to show you how I used to make the race analysis, data analysis for the sport director who is working with the riders and also for me as sport director of the team I'm working with. So for that I'm going to try to share my desktop and I'm going to explain step by step how I used to do that. Okay, first of all, I would like to share with you my professional career and my experience. I'm graduated in physical activity and sports. I have made two post degrees on high performance and cyclic sports and research in physical activity and sports. Also, I have made some courses. With reference to the courses, I have been working with many of those teachers, and with reference to my experience, I have been cyclist until 2020, I think. I have been coach and sport director of Kuwait national team 2 years ago. Also, I have been auxiliary with Pro Continental Team Euskaltel Euskadi, performance manager of the Spanish track national team. I'm nowadays working with that team. Also, I am nowadays collaborating with under 23 team, in which I am a sport director and performance manager. So this is going to be the key point of my speech. So I'm going to focus on this team for sharing the information what I am looking at. So I hope you to enjoy all this information and I hope it will be useful for your work. Okay, I have made this Excel in which I use to analyze everything. So first of all, I want you to know I have made those pages in which this one I can edit everything, all data written here. Also, I make the analysis of the race, the whole race here in this other table, and the analysis of the key point of the race at this other table. After this, all this data is going to be shown here in graphics of the half-hour data and the key point of the race, how it was, how hard it was the work made before. Also, it is important when we know about the repeatability of the riders, we have to take into account how fatigued they reach to the final point in which the race is decided. So the first rider I'm going to explain with 6 riders. This is a real case of a race in which we had 6 riders. I'm going to name them rider 1, second rider, third rider, fourth rider, fifth rider, and sixth rider. The first one was the leader of the team. We wanted him to win the race. Finally, he did, I think, fourth place. But anyway, the second and third rider were to help this first rider, and the fourth, fifth, and sixth rider had to go to the breakaway. We didn't have a team to control the race, so we had to work on that sense because other teams had, I think, 10 or 11 riders, so they wanted to control the race. We had to be on the breakaway. So starting with the data analysis, this is the graphic where matches above FTP are shown in blue lines, and also Pmax FRC matches which are shown in red lines. Okay, this is the typical line of the FRC of WKO and the power spent over the time. After this, I make an analysis of the race during every half an hour. I divide the race every half an hour. This is auto lap made. And I used to show the work in kilojoules, TCS, distance, climbing, average power, normalized power, time spent over FTP, time spent under FTP, matches in FRC, matches on Pmax, kilojoules per kilometer, kilojoules per kilogram, kilojoules, absolute kilojoules. Here we have the percentage of the FTP average power, okay, intensity factor of every half an hour, but watt per kilo, and time spent under 30 watts. I'm sorry because of my English, but I'm trying to improve it. I hope you are learning everything. Also here I have the analysis of the whole race. This is also data shown in the analysis before, but here I have included the Pmax of the race, the best 30 seconds, best minute, best 30 minutes, the best 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 20, 60 best minutes, and also compound the score of 1 and 4 minutes. This is also important because, as Peter Leo said, this is a predictor of the final result of the race. So with this data, I'm going to show you how I analyze this on this Excel. I have divided it into 2 windows. So I'm going to take all the data from this software, Control C, copy, and paste here. I'm going to do the same with the analysis of the whole race of this rider. Copy, paste. And here, as you can see, it is marked in red color. This is going to be a format I have put here because I want to show the highest number in red, the second highest number in yellow, and the third one in green color. Okay, as far as we go ahead of this, you are going to see how it is changing. Also, important point of this analysis is to know where the race has been decided. So on this way, I have made here the key point of the race. Okay, for doing this, you just have to select the key point of the race, create a smart segment here, and just this segment is going to be on all the riders who have been in that race. So in this sense, we have here created the segment, key point climb, and I have here another chart to analyze the key point of the race. Here I can copy this, where I have the duration of the key point, how much time he has spent for climbing that point, average speed, speed of climbing, average power, relative power, on watt per kilo, relative kilojoules, percentage of the FTP, kilojoules spent before reaching to that point. This is so important because here we know how much the rider has spent before reaching to the key point of the race, and the same value relative to kilograms. Okay, so we can copy this and paste here. As far as we have made here, it is in red color the highest number, and red color here the highest number also, and it is also in relative numbers. Okay, I have not used this color on average power on what's absolute watts, because I think to make comparison between riders, it has to be on relative values. So this way we are going to make the same with all the riders. We have made with the first one. Let's go in search of the second rider. This was the race. This is the whole race. Okay, the analysis per half an hour. We copy, paste here. Also the whole race. This here. This was on the place 68. The analysis of the key point. Remember, we have created a segment of the key point, and we have to select this point, and let's go to the point where we are going to select all this data to copy and paste on the Excel. The same with the second rider and the third rider. Let's go in search of the third rider. This was the race. We have to take all this data. Okay, copy, paste here. And as you can see here, I have put the heart rate values on the last column, not to disturb the analysis of the riders who don't use the heart rate. So in this case, rider 3, we can see he has used the heart rate monitor, so we have data of the heart rate. Here we are going to copy the data of the stage. Here we can copy it, and the same with, we have to do the same with the key point of the race. Okay, here we have the key point, copy, paste, and we are going to make the same with the rest 3 riders. Rider 4. Okay, this was the race. The analysis of the half an hour. Copy, paste. Also the whole race. The key point of the race. This is the key point of the race. The segment we have created, it is the same for everyone. So we can copy this and paste on the last 2 riders. We are going to analyze the last 2 riders. This rider 5, half an hour analysis. Let's take everything, copy paste, full race, copy paste, and the key point, the segment we created, key point climb, 7 minutes 48 seconds. Let's take it well, copy and paste. The last rider, rider 6, analysis of half an hour, copy paste, the whole race, key point of the race. Let's go here, copy paste. Okay, now we have all this data of the 6 riders, and we want to show it visually. So here I have this data, it is the same, but here I have some columns in which I can select what I want to see. This way, I'm going to select only the places where there is something. I delete this one, there is nothing written. So if not, we will see this all data analysis here, but with all riders who has not participated. So in this sense, I want to delete these columns. This is why I used to make this, not to put the empty columns. Now we can see, as far as we have selected only the columns with data, we are going to now see the analysis of the riders, deleting all the other ones. As we can see here, the first rider, remember he was the leader of the team. He spent the less of all of them. The 2 riders who had to help him also are spending, okay, this less FRC matches, but he has spent more PMAX matches, but it is proportional. So this has spent a lot here, but look at this, only 6 efforts on PMAX. Those 2 has to be also related, okay? Look at the people who have had to go to the breakaway on the first hours. They spend much more matches than the other ones. If we look at the kilojoules per kilogram spent every half an hour, we look here the first half an hour, second half an hour, third, fourth, 5, and the last half an hour. We can see how these 2 riders, 3 riders, better said, the ones who had to support the leader, and the leader has spent the less of all of them. Also on the second half an hour and the third half an hour, we can see after this how after spending so few energy at the beginning of the race, they are able to sustain a higher power at the last of the stage. These 2 riders are the leaders of the race, so they can spend more at the last part of the race. Also, taking into account average power, percentage of the FTP, those two riders, we can see they have spent much less than the other ones. Those also on the second half an hour, sorry, the second half an hour, the third half an hour, and as we can see, the last half an hour, they spend much more. They are working at higher percentage of their FTP than the other ones because they are able to sustain that. This is the repeatability which has been speaking so much times. Also for the paper who was published by Muriel, Barranco, Manuel Mateo, and those all researchers. Also, watts per kilogram, we can see here, this one has spent a lot of energy, but look at the watt per kilogram. We have to look at this because those three riders who had to be, this is the leader, and the two who support them are spending much less power than the ones who have to be on the breakaway. Take that into account for the first half an hour, second half an hour, third half an hour, and how at the last half an hour they are able to sustain a higher power per kilogram than the other ones. Okay, if we take into account also the time spent over FTP, we can see here how those three riders spend much less time over FTP than the rest of them, and how at the last half an hour, also the before half an hour, this one had to support the leader, so this has to spend much more energy than the other ones in favor of those two riders. At the last half an hour, we can see how rider 1 and rider 2 spend much more energy over FTP. Also, the time spent under FTP, those two riders are the leaders of the team, and they spend much more time at this pace. The costing, and this is written under 30 watts. Also, we try to research how much time people spend or riders spend without pedaling, but I think it's better analyzing this because, as we can see here, the three best riders of the team have to be less time without pedaling or under 30 watts at the last half an hour, and how here they spend much more time also without pedaling than the other ones. The intensity factor, we can see significantly differences here. The first half an hour, the intensity factor take into account, it takes into account normalized power and FTP of the rider. The rider 1 and rider 2 spend much less energy than the other ones, also in the second half an hour, the third half an hour, and the fourth one, and also the fifth one. It is not the same at the last half an hour, where we can see it is spent much more energy of first rider and second riders because they are more, let's say, more fresh. Okay, this analyzed. Also, we are going to analyze the key point we have been speaking about. As the other window, we can see here an analysis. We have no rider here. For that, I have created this table in which I'm going to select only the places, the lines where there is something written. So I delete this, and this way we are going to have the analysis of only the riders who have raised that race. The first rider was the leader, so he has spent less kilojoules per kilogram before the key point. Also, the second and third rider are the ones who are supporting this one, but also the fifth one, we are looking, maybe he has spent less than other ones. But this is also the why, how performance manager or data analysis has to take into account when we are analyzing all this data, because this is not normal that this rider spend less energy than this one who is the leader. Maybe he had a problem. I don't know because I was not on that race exactly, but I had to speak with the sport director for this curious data. Also, the key point, as we can see and as it is expected of the place of, we can see here, he was fourth on the race. So the last climb was on less time than the other riders. Okay, the duration of the climb. So the graphically we can see it here how the leader climbed that at higher power per kilogram, watt per kilogram, 5.97 against the 4.89. This was the rider who held this one to take the good position on the peloton. Okay, so the other ones were died and they couldn't make their best. So this was also the analysis of the kilojoules per kilogram spent at this point, at the key point, the same as the watt per kilogram, more or less, it is the same. This is the analysis I used to do with the Excel, but also I like to make it as a report for the sport director. So with this data, I have here race report. So I have rider 1, rider 2, 4, 5, 6. So this way I make a screenshot on the entire workout spent. Okay, let's go for the first rider. We can see here first rider how much he has spent. So we paste it here and we have rider 1 with all these matches. This is the leader. Remember, this is the leader of the team. So he should have spent less than the other ones. Let's go to make the same with the second rider. We do the screenshot here and we paste it here. And also with the third rider. This is going to be made with all the riders, so we can compare everyone here on a simple view of how it was the race for each one. The fourth rider, look at this. He was looking for the breakaway. Look how many red points there were here. Look at the difference between this one and this one, who was the leader of the team. It is significantly different. So we can take conclusions here. This second rider was going to help the first one. So look at the point before starting the last climb, how he was helping for the collocation on the peloton. This is very important to look at this because this is significant for a good rider who is helping his teammate. The same for the fifth one. Make the screenshot here. Here. Also take into account those part of the analysis because maybe we have to make the lab here race. Look at this. This was not data, real data. So take that into account. It was my fault. We make the screenshot here. Let's zoom and separate for only selecting this part. Okay, here we have deleted this way. Look at this. We have deleted this part of the race so we can make a best analysis. Also, we have to take into account we have not made it with this rider on the data analysis. Okay, so take that into account. And this was rider 5. This data was wrong. Okay, now it should be okay. So rider 6, we are going to make the same with the rider 6. screenshot here and paste here. This is everything. Now we can see how the race has been. This was the leader. Look at how many blue and red lines there are. There are much less lines than the other ones. The fourth rider was, as they have said also, the rider who more tried to reach the breakaway. This one had to help, and also this one had to help the leader of the race. So look at the points, the efforts they are doing. There are many efforts, but those are on the peloton. Okay, take that into account because those efforts are on the peloton to get this rider into the best position for spending the less as possible. Also, the rider, as we have said, he has helped the leader at the part before starting the clean. This is very important. This analysis for a sport director to know who is the rider who more can help this leader. We could do the same with this analysis. The same we could do everyone. This way we are going to look how the FRC dynamics are the same as this. I'm not going to lose more time doing this. I want it to be clear for all of you. So for the report, as we have said, I want to analyze also this one. I want to analyze this every data so that the sport director can get an idea of how the dynamics have been of the race. We can make the screenshot of every graphic. This is valuable information for the sport director who has been in the race. You cannot be there, but you can make this analysis for the sport director who is working with the riders directly. This is an useful information for that. So this way we have here the analysis of half an hour. Look, this everything. The leader how has spent less energy, more time under FTP, less intensity factor, and also we are going to make an individual report. This is also more work for the data analysis, but this is a lot of information for the person who is on the direction as a sport director of the race. Here I have this chart in which I can see the efforts made on fatigue. This way we are going to look on blue line, the power duration curve of 20 kilojoules per kilogram spent before the effort of the last 90 days. This is the 90 days line, and this is the line of the race. This way we can see the rider has not reached the best power duration curve on fatigue because this rider was going on the breakaway, so the more valuable the report we can make is that he has spent so much energy here than that he's not able to perform his best here on the second part of the race. Maybe the analysis we can make is that he has to work more on fatigue and try to improve those aspects of the race. For that thing, we can make this screenshot. This was rider 6, and we can read right here. This rider was not able to, I don't know, everything as that analysis you could write here. If we look at rider 1, race review, here, enter workout, let's see how this cyclist is able to perform his best values on fatigue. This is the time spent for the climb of the stage. We are going to delete this after 20 kilojoules per kilograms. We are going to focus on 30 kilojoules per kilograms, which is the energy they have spent on this race for the key point. Look at this, he has performed his best values on the race, so we can do this and look. Screenshot here, and here rider one has performed his best because, as you can see here, 41 watts when his min maximal power on fresh is 42 watts. Almost the best performance on fatigue. This is a good performance for a rider who is the leader of the team for the last climb of the race. Also, with the Excel we were analyzing, we are going to make another page. I'm going to write here something to configuration horizontal. Okay, this way we are going to have this page like this to make the copy and paste of this data, which is also, I think, interesting for the analysis of the race. Okay, this way, with this data, we are going to know how the intensity factor of rider who has been trying for the breakaway is higher than the other ones. Also, the coasting for those riders is higher because the last part of the race, all the way down of the climb was without pedaling. So these two riders had to pedal much more than those ones. This is the analysis of those strength values of red, yellow, and green. But as we can see, and as Peter Leo said, the compound score is a predictable value of the race result, as we can see here in the classification, the fourth place and the compound score of 1 minute and 4 minutes. I know Peter Leo selected 5 minutes, but I think 5 minutes effort is much more difficult to reach on a race. So 1 minute and 4 minutes is the best ones for the almost the best riders of the race. This way, I think there is a mistake anyway, because there is no here yellow color and there is no here green color. But I suppose the green and yellow color was for the fourth rider, which was exactly the third best position, which was on the climb. The last thing we could do is make here the screenshot of the key point. We insert it here after this, the key point of the race. As we can see, here we can write what was the key point of the race. Maybe it was not a climb. Maybe it was a place where there was a lot of wind, and this was the place where the race was selected. So this is important to know how much time has the leader spent on the climb, how much power he has performed on watt per kilo, what's absolute watts, how much energy has spent before reaching to the last climb. Or we can see he was with the less kilojoules per kilogram less spent before. Also, rider 5, those small details which we can't not pass them around, because this spent less kilojoules per kilogram because as we can see, he had a point here before starting the key point in which there was no power data. Okay, this is analysis where we can write here rider 4 didn't have power data at the beginning of the race. Okay, we can write whatever we want here. I like writing here observations, or here also. I like to write because this is a more personal analysis of maybe the director, where he can put the leader of the team helping the reader, the leader, this was also helping the reader. And insert of the breakaway. This is the analysis also which can be made by the sport director or the performance manager if he's on the race or if he has spoken with the sport director. So this is all. I hope you have enjoyed and you have learned something about the data analysis of a race. I hope to make some other video soon with all this data I'm working with. Finally, without forgetting, I would like to thank a lot to people who have trust on me from the beginning. On this sense, I have to thank Javier Sola and Raúl Cedrán, who have taught me to use this software, WQO. Also, they have a course of curso experto en entrenamiento por potencia, expert on training with a power meter, we could see. And I highly recommend that course for if you want to learn how to use all this data. Also, I have to thank a lot from the beginning of my career to Ari Charveras, who has been my mentor since the beginning.